Now we start with the cross section of medulla oblongata at the level of pontomedullary junction, or according to some books, cross section of medulla oblongata at the level of mid-olivary nuclei. So either of these two can be asked. So here be very careful, cross section of medulla oblongata at mid-olivary level or cross section of medulla oblongata at the pontomedullary junction. This is the highest level of medulla oblongata, the third and the final level. We came from caudal to rostral, caudo-rostrally. So this is the rostral level of medulla oblongata. Now we draw, please draw along with me to make it very simple. Diagrammatically it is very simple, but we have to continuously draw the various segments one by one. So it is very easy to understand also. Now this section will be slightly different from the previous two sections. Why? Because here, since this is the rostral part, rostral half of the medulla, the dorsally we have to keep it open, because that rostral half of the medulla oblongata in the dorsal region, posterior region, will form floor of fourth ventricle. So this is how we have to show. We start with this side. So what we'll show is, first we'll show first convexity, second convexity, then third. Same way, first, second, third. And then we draw the lateral. Then we draw the two lateral ends. This is how we go. This is how we draw the lateral ends. These two are the lateral ends. And then we come ventrally. Now in the ventrally, if this is the midline, we start from here we shall draw the two convexities for the pyramid, the two convexities for the inferior olivary nucleus, and then once again another two lateral convexities, and then we join with the lateral wall. We join with the lateral wall. Here we complete our section. Now please note down, this is the dorsal part where the floor of fourth ventricle, dorsal part, floor of fourth ventricle is there. This is the ventral part. So therefore, now where should we start from? We will start from here, this entire section we divide into three different halves: medial, intermediate, lateral. The medial half we draw from ventral to dorsal direction. Very interesting. So medially, ventral to dorsal, when we draw, the first thing that we draw will be the pyramid. So let us draw the pyramid at this level. These are the pyramid. And what will pyramids contain? We know that pyramids will contain the anterior corticospinal tract. So these are the anterior corticospinal tract, and these anterior corticospinal tracts, they will later on decussate lower down. At what level? Lowest level of medulla oblongata. That was the motor decussation, pyramidal decussation. After decussating, which we have seen in the pyramidal decussation, the right anterior corticospinal tract will decussate to the lateral side, left side, and it will form the lateral corticospinal tract. Similarly, from the left side, it will decussate to the right side, and it will form lateral corticospinal tract. That is the decussation. Now, so therefore, these pyramids are rostral to the decussation, that is cranial to the decussation. Therefore, they will carry motor fibers, and these motor fibers are carried in such a way that laterally here there will be the fibers for lower limb, and medially there will be fibers for upper limb and trunk. Such fibers are present in both pyramids, right and left, that is anterior corticospinal tracts. Second structure which we have to draw here, we will draw here just in front of pyramids, and we draw this structure as the arcuate nucleus. Please draw this arcuate nucleus. Very interesting, and we have to write something about arcuate nucleus, which I'll explain it to you. So therefore, arcuate nucleus, first we'll write this as pyramid, then we will mention this as the arcuate nucleus. This arcuate nucleus, previously also I have discussed with you, they are inferiorly placed pontine nuclei only. They are homologous with pontine nuclei. They are derived from pontine nuclei only. Now this arcuate nuclei will have two types of efferent channels. What is efferent channel? The arcuate nuclei will receive fibers from the cortex, cerebral hemisphere. So corticopontine fibers in case of medulla oblongata coming from the cerebral hemisphere will relay first in the arcuate nuclei. From arcuate nuclei, efferent fibers will pass. Now this is very interesting. These efferent fibers of the arcuate nuclei, remember, from right as well as left side will pass in such a way that, for example, from this side it is passing, also from this side it will pass. So contralateral, ipsilateral, both the sides, they will pass to the right side as well as to the left side. Only one side we are drawing. So from the arcuate nuclei of right and left side, they will pass contralateral. So here we don't mention right and left, we mention contralateral and ipsilateral. From here they pass anteriorly. See here how wonderfully they are passing anteriorly, and they will merge at this inferior cerebellar peduncle. Now this area is inferior cerebellar peduncle, later on will fill up. The point where they will pass on the lateral surface of inferior cerebellar peduncle is pontobulbar body. So therefore we need to mention here, this will be the pontobulbar body. And these fibers which are passing anteriorly, see here, they are passing anteriorly on the anterior surface of medulla oblongata transversely towards the pontobulbar body. From the pontobulbar body, it will relay in the inferior cerebellar peduncle and straight away terminate in cerebellum. So these fibers, they are known as, these fibers are very important. You have to mention these fibers as anterior external arcuate fibers. Anterior external arcuate fibers. Same way, from the arcuate nuclei, some fibers will pass through the medulla oblongata. So here, see here, these fibers from now here, ipsilaterally, from right side, they will pass dorsally, and from the left side also they will pass dorsally through the medulla oblongata. Once they pass towards the median sulcus, what is this portion now? This portion is the fourth ventricle. It is the fourth ventricle. So therefore, we have seen during the drawing of the dorsal surface of medulla oblongata at upper level, at a cranial level, that will form the floor of fourth ventricle, in which we have shown the fibers of stria medullaris, if you recollect. So these are the fibers of arcuate nuclei which will pass dorsally through the medulla oblongata, passing into the, this is the median sulcus of the fourth ventricle. So they will cross in the median sulcus of fourth ventricle, right will go to the left and left will go to the right. And after crossing, they will form, these fibers will continue as stria medullaris. Till what level? Till pontobulbar body. So these fibers are known as stria medullaris. Remember one thing. Therefore, these questions are asked in one mark question answer also. What is stria medullaris? Or it can be asked in MCQ. Stria medullaris is nothing but the fibers derived from arcuate nuclei passing through the medulla and crossing in the floor of fourth ventricle. Again, they are relaying where? Pontobulbar body. From pontobulbar body, where it will receive the fibers of arcuate nuclei as anterior external arcuate fibers and stria medullaris from both the channels. From here, pontobulbar body, these fibers will be relayed in the cerebellum through inferior cerebellar peduncle. So therefore now, I will name these fibers here as stria medullaris. This is very important. And therefore, we end the arcuate nucleus at this stage. Now, ventral to dorsal, arcuate nucleus pyramid. Immediately dorsal to the pyramids, we will draw here what we had drawn previously. So we are going to draw here these two rectangular blocks, and these two rectangular blocks will suggest the medial lemniscus. This is the medial lemniscus, which this medial lemniscus was formed at what level? Mid-level, previous to this segment, the mid-level, that is the sensory decussation. So medial lemniscus is nothing but the fibers of fasciculus, gracilis and cuneatus. Once again, dorsal to medial lemniscus, we come across, dorsal to it, we will come across these two small structures which are known as the tectospinal tract. So this will become the tectospinal tract. Once again, we have to show here tectospinal tract. And dorsal to tectospinal tract, this will remain same as that of the previous section. So dorsal to this will be medial longitudinal fasciculus. So therefore we will show here the medial longitudinal fasciculus. And since these structures are remaining the same, these were present at the section below this also. Once again, ventral to dorsal, arcuate nucleus, pyramid, medial lemniscus, tectospinal tract, medial longitudinal fasciculus, and two more structures we have to add here in the dorsal most compartment. Those two structures will be now the grey matter, and those two grey matter will be, first we'll draw here, this is hypoglossal nucleus, the same hypoglossal nucleus which was present at the level of sensory deposition. So this is the rostral continuation of the hypoglossal nucleus which was present at the level of sensory deposition. Lateral to hypoglossal nucleus, another small nucleus we have to make, and that small nucleus will be known as nucleus intercalatus. And this nucleus intercalatus is nothing but it is also known as the perihypoglossal nucleus. Just we have to mention this much. So therefore marking is very important. Here we will mark on this side. This here will mark as hypoglossal nucleus, and this structure we have to mark here as the intercalatus nucleus. By marking these structures we are completing the medial part of the level of this section. Now we start with the intermediate part. Now this intermediate part we have to start from ventral and then slowly we will complete it towards the dorsal. What is the main component of intermediate section? The intermediate section will have the presence of, here we will show this olivary nucleus, and this is the principal olivary nucleus. Once again, this principal olivary nucleus will have crumpled bag appearance in which the hilum is directed medially. Principal inferior olivary nucleus. Once again you have to mark this structure. This is the principal inferior olivary nucleus, very important. Then one nucleus which is present medially here in between principal inferior olivary nucleus and medial lemniscus. You have to show this nucleus. This is the medial accessory olivary nucleus. And here we show at this level, this will be the dorsal accessory olivary nucleus. At this level, this will be the dorsal accessory olivary nucleus. So therefore, once again, this will be the dorsal accessory olivary nucleus, and this nucleus will be the medial accessory olivary nucleus. Now we have to write something about this, because this inferior olivary group of nuclei is very important. Please mention that the principal inferior olivary nucleus will receive afferent fibers from the two sources. And what are those two sources? For example, this will receive afferent fibers from, please note down, cortico-olivary, that means from the cerebral cortex. And also it will receive the fibers from rubro-olivary, that is from the red nucleus. This you have to mention. From the cerebral hemisphere, from the red nucleus which is present in the midbrain, the fibers will be related to the inferior, that is principal inferior olivary nucleus. This you have to mention. Similarly, the fibers for the dorsal accessory olivary nucleus as well as for the medial accessory olivary nucleus will be receiving fibers from spino-olivary tract. And that spino-olivary tract, here I will mention this as the spino-olivary, that is from principal inferior olivary nucleus. It will be receiving the fibers from that of the cortex, cortico-olivary fibers, that is cerebral cortex, and red nucleus, rubro-olivary. Then we come to the dorsal accessory olivary nucleus. It will be receiving the fibers from that of the spinal cord, spino-olivary tract. Also, the medial accessory olivary nucleus, it will be receiving fibers from the spinal cord, same spino-olivary. So spino-olivary tract will relate to both accessory olivary nuclei. Here, medial accessory olivary nuclei will receive again one more important pattern of fibers coming from the periaqueduct of the midbrain. Coming from periaqueduct of midbrain, where it will relay in accessory olivary nucleus. Now, these are the components of the inferior olivary nuclear complex. These are the components. Now, from here, from this olivary group, the entire efferent channel will be relayed through olivocerebellar tract. And this olivocerebellar tract will pass through the inferior cerebral peduncle into the cerebellum. And some of the fibers, efferent fibers from accessory olivary nucleus will pass as par-olivocerebellar tract. Par-olivocerebellar tract will also relay in the vermis of the cerebellum, median portion of cerebellum. And therefore, the efferent channel from all these three group of inferior olivary nucleus will be relayed through olivocerebellar and par-olivocerebellar tract. Olivocerebellar tract is also known as climbing fibers, which will be more clear during cerebellum. At this junction, you just have to remember it is an example of climbing fibers. So here we finish our olivary group in the intermediate. Now we come to the intermediate region only, but in the dorsal part. Now in the dorsal part, lateral to this nucleus, what was this nucleus? Intercalatus. Lateral to it, two more nucleus we have to make, and those two nuclei which we are going to draw will be that of the, let me draw with yellow color, this will be dorsal nucleus of vagus, and here there will be nucleus of tractus solitarius. Once again, dorsal nucleus of vagus and nucleus of tractus solitarius. And these two nuclei already we have discussed, so here we need to mention this as the nucleus of tractus solitarius, and here we will mention this as that of the dorsal nucleus of vagus. Now we finish the intermediate region. Now we go to the lateral region. Now in the lateral region, we will first draw with the yellow color only inferior cerebellar peduncle. See here, we are going to draw this structure, and this structure will be the inferior cerebellar peduncle. It will connect the medulla oblongata with cerebellum, inferior cerebellar peduncle. Same way over here, we are going to draw this structure, and this will be inferior cerebellar peduncle. Now, pontobulbar body will be lying on the lateral surface of inferior cerebellar peduncle. This inferior cerebellar peduncle, here we have to mention this as inferior cerebellar peduncle. There are a lot of afferent tracts going from medulla oblongata towards the cerebellum, inferior cerebellar peduncle. Now, on the ventral and dorsal margin of inferior cerebellar peduncle, two nuclei we have to show, and those two nuclei will be number one. See here, this is the ventral cochlear nuclei, and here this will be the dorsal cochlear nuclei. These two nuclei we have to draw. Once again, on the ventral margin, ventral cochlear nuclei, and on the dorsal margin here, the dorsal cochlear nuclei. So therefore, this nuclei, remember, ventral cochlear nuclei is located where? It will be located between vestibular and cochlear nuclei, and this ventral cochlear nuclei will be located on the ventrolateral aspect of the medulla oblongata. What about this dorsal cochlear nuclei? This dorsal cochlear nuclei will be located on the dorsolateral aspect of the medulla oblongata. Then we come to vestibular area. Just next to this dorsal cochlear nuclei, we are having the vestibular area, and that vestibular area I will show with this violet color. It will have two nuclei of vestibular group, and those two nuclei of vestibular group will be the medial vestibular nucleus as well as inferior vestibular nucleus. So medial and inferior vestibular nucleus. And please note down, these vestibular group of nuclei are lying where? Dorsally, they will be lying in the vestibular area of the caudal part of fourth ventricle, or it is known as the rostral part, cranial part of the open part of medulla oblongata. That is the vestibular area which we had drawn previously. So here we need to write down these are the vestibular nuclei, medial as well as inferior vestibular nuclei. Now we come to two nuclei which are present lateral to. Remember, the location of these two nuclei will be ventrolateral to the dorsal nucleus of vagus and nucleus of tractus solitarius. Those two nuclei, they are known as, I will use blue color for those two nuclei, and they are known as number one. This is nucleus ambiguous, and this is inferior salivatory nucleus. Once again, I will draw here. This will be the nucleus ambiguous, and this will be the nucleus inferior salivatory nucleus. We have to write both the nuclei. First, inferior salivatory nucleus, and then we have to write this as the nucleus ambiguous, and we have to write 2-3 sentences about these two nuclei. Nucleus ambiguous, it is often asked as 1-mark question answer, is a collection of 3 cranial nerve nuclei, and those 3 cranial nerve nuclei are, listen very carefully, glossopharyngeal, vagus and cranial part of accessory nerve, 9th, 10th and 11th cranial nerve. Which type of fibers it will carry? Branchiomotor. Remember this, branchiomotor. So here we will write here as branchiomotor fibers. And these branchiomotor fibers are also known as spatial visceral efferent fibers. Spatial visceral efferent fibers. What is the speciality of this? The speciality of this branchiomotor or spatial visceral efferent component is that these fibers will supply to those muscles which are derived from branchial arches. Which are the muscles which are derived from the branchial arches? They are the muscles of, for example, we take the muscles of the 3rd, 4th and 6th arch. So we start with the muscles of pharynx and larynx. The entire muscles of pharynx and larynx will be supplied by the fibers coming from branchiomotor or spatial visceral efferent component from nucleus ambiguous. So therefore this nucleus ambiguous consists of what? It consists of which nuclei? So it will consist of the glossopharyngeal nerve nucleus, it will consist of the vagus nerve nucleus, and it will consist of cranial part of accessory nerve nucleus. Here you have to make this and you have to also note it down. Nucleus ambiguous consists of the fibers from glossopharyngeal nerve nucleus, also from the vagus and also from the cranial root of accessory nerve. All these 3 nuclei will join together and form nucleus ambiguous, because the other name of nucleus ambiguous or the functional component is known as branchiomotor or spatial visceral efferent, where through these 3 nerve nuclei, the entire nucleus ambiguous will supply all the muscles of the pharynx and larynx except few muscles that I will come across later on. This much is nucleus ambiguous. And where is it located? Ventrolateral to the dorsal nucleus of vagus and nucleus of tractus solitarius. What about inferior salivatory nucleus? This inferior salivatory nucleus belongs to which nerve? Once again it belongs to the glossopharyngeal nerve nucleus. But this nucleus is known as the visceromotor nucleus. And what is visceromotor nucleus? It is the nucleus which contains general visceral efferent functional component. So therefore, inferior salivatory nucleus is the nucleus of the glossopharyngeal nerve, where it will contain general visceral efferent functional component. That means it will supply preganglion secretomotor fibers, and this preganglion secretomotor fibers is supplied to parotid gland. This much you have to mention. And then finally we come to this region. Now in the lateral region, in the ventral part, we come to 3 more structures which are very important. And those 3 structures which we need to mention will be, first structure. The first structure will be, for example, I will draw this structure here and I will mention this as the ventral spinocerebellar tract. Please mention this as ventral spinocerebellar tract. Where will the dorsal spinocerebellar tract go? The dorsal spinocerebellar tract has merged with the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So at this level, we just need to write down, we will just write down here as that of the ventral spinocerebellar tract. This is first point. Now second point, spinal nucleus and tract of trigeminal nerve. The spinal nucleus and tract of trigeminal nerve, that I will make over here. This is the spinal nucleus and this is the tract of trigeminal nerve. Same way on this side you have to draw the spinal nucleus as well as the tract of trigeminal nerve. This is very important, and also we need to mention here and spinal tract of trigeminal nerve. Now here you need to mention that it will receive fibers conveying pain and temperature from the same side, ipsilateral side of head and neck region, and it will relay in the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So this you need to mention, ipsilateral pain temperature from head and neck region. And the third structure which will be located here, the third structure that will be located here, I am going to draw this structure, and this will be known as spinal lemniscus. This structure will be known as that of spinal lemniscus. So this spinal lemniscus will contain which tract? It will contain only lateral spinothalamic tract. As I already discussed with you, anterior spinothalamic tract will relay directly into medial lemniscus, and lateral spinothalamic tract will form spinal lemniscus. So this is our, now here we need to mention spinal lemniscus. And what it will carry? It will carry the sensations of pain and temperature from contralateral side of the body, contralateral, opposite side of the body, pain, temperature through spinal lemniscus. Here at this junction we finished the entire composition of the cross section of medulla oblongata at the level of rostral level, or at the pontomedullary junction, or at the mid-olivary level. Please note down these points, whatever I have discussed, and this much is the diagram, these are the components. Thank you very much.